In Washington?
The big speech, yeah.
1963, August.
Vlogging.
Yeah, man. Got my little YouTube channel, you know what I'm saying? Check me out. Yeah. Look at this. 16th Street Baptist Church. We're here in Birmingham, Alabama. This is where the 4 little girls were killed as a result of the Ku Klux Klan bombing on September 15, 1963. This is the first time I heard about this is when Malcolm X gave the speech. But when it comes time to seeing your own churches being bombed and little black girls murdered, you haven't got no blood. Yes.
People have masks.
Oh shoot, I forgot mine. I don't think you really have to wear it.
You dare walk in without a mask.
Those two. So now we're going inside the 16th Street Baptist Church. Hello.
I have some in my room. I'll bring them down next time.
Oh, they went back? Okay.
Can I have one of those, please? Easy to read.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Thanks. Okay, let's just go straight through.
I think we all have masks. It's a guided
You
tour
great?
and it's fine. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is the
Say hi to vlog. No?
No.
Say hello. There you go. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, you got warrants? You got warrants? The 16th Street Baptist Church, where all of the Birmingham campaign was organized. This is history, guys. Civil rights movement. You go ahead.
Sorry?
Yeah. You're part of the video. Battle for civil rights. Good afternoon. I want to let you jump. Good morning. Please do not do any photography. We're going upstairs in the 16th Street Baptist Church now. Wow. This is where all the organizing was done for the Birmingham campaign. Wow.
on a different day. I noticed that it was held, like the main funeral was only for 3 of the girls.
You can pull your mic. I can't hear you. You can pull your mic.
I noticed that the main funeral on the 18th was only for 3 of the girls. Why was the other one held on a separate day?
There was a myth surrounding that.
Oh.
There were things floating around that said that the Robinson family did not want Dr. King and Shuttlesworth and those people to exploit the deaths, and that they were going to have the funeral separately. That's not what happened. There's a documentary, a movie about the bombing of the church called The 4 Little Girls. Have y'all seen that? You need to look at that movie. It's called The 4 Little Girls by Spike Lee. And it is a documentary about the bombing of the church. And many of the parents are still alive. And they're speaking in the documentary. Mrs. Alpha Robinson said that Monday morning, they didn't talk to anybody. They just went to make funeral arrangements for their child. They didn't discuss anything with any of the other parents. So that's what happened. Yep, any other questions? None? Yes, sir.
This may have been me like misreading something on the thing, but I noticed in the experience room, it mentioned something about 2 people killed in the street, or was
There were 2 teens killed the same day as a result of white supremacy. There were riots in Birmingham. So right after they learned that the church had been bombed, those 4 little girls were killed. Many people's senses were heightened. People had all sorts of stuff going on. My mother was even involved in a mess, trying to go to work that morning. But one gentleman was riding on a bicycle with his older brother, and they were discussing getting a newspaper route, and they were to start the next day, so they were riding the route. And a group of white youth on their way to a white supremacist rally approached them and tried to scare them. And the boys didn't back down. One of the youth had been gifted a .22 caliber pistol, and he shot the kid in the chest and in the cheek and got 6 months in juvenile detention. The other gentleman was shot in the back by a police officer. There was a call, and there was been reported that bricks and rocks were being thrown at cars. And when the police officer arrived, this guy was just standing on the street. And the officer began to kind of rough him up and try to make him confess to throwing bricks and rocks at cars. He was afraid of the officer. He took off running. The newspaper article says that the officer fired a warning shot in the air. But he did not shoot him in the air. He shot him in the back and killed him, and received no disciplinary action. Yes, ma'am.
What does September 15th look like now here? What does September 15th look like here now?
There's usually a large memorial service or commemorative service held here every year at that time. Yes. Questions came up about, well, why were they following the drinking gourd? So that led to talks about slavery and Harriet Tubman and escaping, and took us on into the civil rights movement. So the Caucasian PE teacher went to the principal and told the principal that Mr. Gilliam is teaching about civil rights. I called to the office. Yes, ma'am, I did it. I did it. Got a little write-up. Yes, ma'am.
They're not teaching about Martin Luther King and civil rights, all that in Alabama, like at all, for younger kids?
It is my understanding that it is not a part of the state standards. Therefore, especially the new teachers are afraid to go there. Absolutely afraid. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. I'll get back to you.
So if civil rights aren't taught, then how do they teach about the Civil War and the context surrounding that?
Ask the history, folks.
Ask
Ask the history.
Historian, I grew up in Alabama. My training, we stopped at Civil War in December. We departed for break. We came back and we did Gilded Age. I learned about Reconstruction in college.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm a historian. In high school growing up, we did Civil War. We departed for winter break. We came back and we started Gilded Age in January. I didn't learn about Reconstruction until I was in college.
Wow. Now, see, when I went to school, I'm old. Black History Month was every day. And we learned important facts about Black history, inventors, things that we use every day that people have no idea that Black people even invented. Then Black History Month, it was on and popping. We recited poetry from memory. We did projects. Then we got to high school, took Alabama history. So there were other things taught, plus the other stuff that I was involved in. One of the major civil rights leaders in Birmingham pastored a church 2 doors from where I live, Dr. Abraham Woods. You know that name? So there was
I have for you. I went to college in Birmingham, and when I was in college, I attended Woodlawn United Methodist, which was in the civil rights movement. It was Bull Connor's church. It's a very white, older congregation, and the people who remained at Woodlawn in the wake of civil rights, they really used that as a moment of reckoning, and has since become like a church that, like within the Methodist Church in Alabama, for example, took a huge stand on LGBTQ rights. I'm curious, what is the relationship now between 16th Baptist Church and the other churches, particularly the white churches, those churches that were saying, hey, hold on, pause?
I cannot answer that question.
Okay.
I am not a member of the congregation.
Okay.
I'm just a tour guide.
Tour guide.
Yeah, I cannot answer that question. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
And I'm not at liberty to answer that question. All right, let's talk about the building some more. And I'll answer questions after. The largest amount was 26 sticks, which was planted at one of the synagogues over on the south side. And that bomb didn't go off, luckily. At the other bombings that happened, there were only 2 to 3 sticks of dynamite planted. So they meant for this bomb to do some damage. The building was severely damaged. They said that the front steps looked like a box of dominoes that had been shaken up. All of these windows on this side of the building were totally destroyed, with the exception of this center panel. This center panel is the only panel that survived it. But the face of Jesus Christ was blown out of it. There was a huge crack across his heart and some other cracks in the window. And it's my understanding when the member of the congregation saw that, they said that Jesus Christ was so ashamed of what was happening in Birmingham that he hid his face and broke his heart. So this set of windows are all original 1911 windows. So if you look at the coloration differences, these are brighter hue and these are darker, because these are original 1911 windows. The large window on this side was gifted to the congregation by Dr. Booker T. Washington and the Tuskegee Club. We figured that Washington had affection towards 16th Street, number one, because of Wallace Rayfield, who had been on his faculty. Secondly, the large amount of doctors, nurses, teachers, and black professionals of whom several of them probably had attended Tuskegee. The famous window was the Wales window. It is in the balcony behind you. It's also in front of your brochure. This window was a gift to the congregation by the people of Wales, UK. Metaphorically, it was said that the bomb was heard around the world. And John Petts, the creator of this window, and his wife heard about the bombing on the radio. And they were in such disbelief that somebody would bomb a church, first of all, and kill 4 little children. And they just couldn't wrap their minds around it. So they got on a plane and came to Birmingham to see the church in its devastated state. And he was so moved that he saw that the church was in disrepair, that the windows on this side were mangled, and he wanted to do something. He and his wife had 4 little children, so they were very, very sympathetic.
And so, my friends, they did not die in vain. God still has a way of wringing good out of evil. And history has proven over and over again that unmerited suffering is redemptive. that in spite of the darkness of this hour, we must not despair, we must not become bitter, nor must we harbor the desire to retaliate with violence. Life is hard, at times as hard as crucible steel. It has its bleak and difficult moments.